Okay, this is lesson 5 of our review on graphing linear relations. So we're going to start by just defining what a linear relation actually is. So a linear relation is an equation that is represented by a straight line. Okay, so there are 3 different methods that we can use to graph linear relations. And we're going to go through all 3 methods. You should know how to do all 3 methods. But of course, on tests or quizzes, stuff like that, you may have the option, obviously choose which one you understand the most. So the first method is called finding the intercepts. Okay, so the x and y intercepts of a linear relation are where the line crosses the x-axis and the y-axis respectively. So obviously the x-intercept is where we cross the x-axis and the y-intercept is where we cross the y-axis. So to find the x-intercept, we're going to let y equal 0 and solve for x, which will give us a coordinate point x, 0. Okay? Because if we look at the x-axis here, the y has to be 0 for us to actually be on that x-axis. So, on the other hand, if we're looking for the y-intercept, we're going to let x equal 0 and solve for y, giving us the coordinate point 0, y. Okay, so last step here, to draw the linear relation, we're going to plot the x and y intercepts and draw a line segment between them. All right, so now let's look at an example here. So graph 2x plus y minus 6 equals 0 by determining the intercepts. So the first thing we're going to do is look for our x-intercept. When we're finding our x-intercept, we're having y equals 0. Okay, so that means we're just using substitution. So where we see y, we're just going to put a 0. Okay, so we really just have 2x plus 6, or sorry, that's minus 6. Minus 6 equals 0. Okay, now we're simply solving this equation. So I'm going to move my negative 6 over to the other side, which means it's going to become positive. Okay, and I need x all by itself. So I know I need to use opposite operations here. So I'm going to divide by 2. What I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I'm left with, I'm just going to write it over here, x equals 3. Okay, and if I'm writing that as a point, that would be, just write it over here, 3, 0. Okay, so that is our x-intercept. We're halfway there. We just have to find our y-intercept now. So y-int x equals 0. So same thing, we're just doing substitution. So anytime we see an x, we're going to replace it with a 0. So we have 2 times 0 plus y minus 6 equals 0. Okay, obviously anything times 0 is 0, so we're left with y minus 6 equals 0. Again, we simply have to solve for y. In order to do that, y has to be all by itself. So we're going to move that negative 6 over the equal sign. It's going to become positive, which means that my y-intercept is going to be 0, 6. Okay, at this point we have 2 points. So all we have to do is plot them and draw a line between to connect them. So keep in mind, this is our x, this is our y. Don't forget that point. Okay, so I'm going to look at the x first. So 3 on the x, 0 on the y, going to be approximately there. And 0 on the x, 6 on the y, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to be approximately there. The next thing I need to do is simply connect them by drawing a line segment. Again, mine is not going to be perfect. Not even close. it won't let me move it. Let me try again here. All right, that's a bit better. Okay, so you're just going to connect those, and now you have a line to represent your equation. So that's the first method of graphing. Like I said, there's 3 methods in total. So let's move on to the second one here. The second method is called completing tables of values. So, there we go. A set of coordinates can be determined by completing a table of values for a linear relation. The points can be plotted and then graphed. So, for example, graph y equals 3x plus 2 using a table of values where x is -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So this has already given us our x values. All we have to do is figure out our y's. So I'm going to draw myself a little table here. Again, it tells us which x values to use. So that's all I'm going to write over here. Those are my x values. Okay? And I need to figure out my y values. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to sub in all of those x values into my equation. So in the middle here, I'm going to have y equals 3x plus 2. And then on this side, we're going to end up with our y value. So again, this is just simply substitution. Anytime I see x, I'm going to sub it in with the number it tells me on the left. So this first one is going to be 3 times -2 plus 2. 3 times -2 is -6 plus 2 is +4. Okay, next one here. 3 times -1 is -3 plus 2 gives us -1. Okay, 3 times 0 is obviously 0 plus 2 is just 2. 3 times +1 plus 2 is 5. And lastly, 3 times 2 plus 2 is 8. So just to make it a little nicer for ourselves, we have all this room. So we're just going to rewrite out all of those coordinates. So our first coordinate is -2, 4. Second one is -1, -1. 0, 2, 1, 5. And lastly, 2, 8. So we have 5 points. All we have to do now is plot them on our graph here and draw a line to connect them. So bear with me, I know my dots don't always work out the best. So keep in mind that this is our x-axis and this is our y-axis. Make sure you're graphing correctly. So on the x, I'm going to go to -2, -2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to go -1, -1, 0, 2, 1, 5, 5, and 2, 8. So 2, 8, that's off. So I can see right away that I've made a mistake somewhere because this is not giving me a straight line. So I'm going to go back and make sure that I calculated everything correctly. Okay, and I can already see where my mistake was. So for this first one where I subbed in -2, I had -6 plus 2 and I put +4. That should have been a -4. So not a big deal. Okay, easy fix. So I'm just going to erase this random outlier dot that obviously isn't in the right spot. And I'm going to replot it in the right spot. So it was -2, -4. So that point should have been down there. Okay, now I can see, again, it's not perfect because, well, my dots aren't perfect. But you kind of get the idea. So to finish this off, all we have to do is draw a line, segment, which again probably won't be perfect on my part, but you get the idea. Connecting our dots. Not too bad. Okay? So that's the second method of graphing. Third method. So determining the slope, which that should have an E on it. Slope. That didn't help at all. And y-intercept. Okay, so we're going to rearrange the equation so it's in the form y equals mx plus b. Okay, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. So we're going to plot b and use m equals rise over run to complete the graph. Okay, so we are given this example. Graph 3x plus 2y equals 4 using the slope and the y-intercept. So the first thing we need to do is rearrange our equation so it looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. So I know my y has to be on the left-hand side. So I'm going to leave that over here. I'm going to move my 3x over my equal sign. Remember, when I'm moving it over, it's going to become negative. And I still have my 4 over there. Okay, almost there. This is almost good, but we need y to be all by itself. So I actually need to divide everything by 2. These will cancel. Obviously, not so much over here. So we're left with y equals negative 3 over 2x. And 4 divided by 2 is just 2. Okay, so we already have all the information that we need because remember, this is in y equals mx plus b form. So our m is negative 3 over 2, and our b is 2. Okay, so we have those 2 points. If we know that b is 2, that's actually the point 0, 2. Okay, because it's our y-intercept. It has to be on that y-axis. So, again, x and y, label them if you need to. So I'm going to start with my y-intercept. So I go 0 on the x, which is just the origin, and I'm going to go up 2. Try my best to draw a dot there. Okay, from there, I'm going to use my slope. Remember, slope is just rise over run. Okay, so my rise is negative 3, and my run is 2. Okay, but because my slope is negative, I'm actually not going to go up 3, I'm going down 3. Okay, so again, from this point, I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, over 2, 1, 2. That's another point. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Okay, and I have 4 solid points. If I want some more points, all I have to do is go the opposite way. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 is a point, and that's all that's going to fit on my graph. So to complete this graph, again, as we did before, all we need is to connect those lines with our line segment best as we can. Not too shabby. Okay, so the line of that graph is as you can see on the right here. Okay, we've graphed the line. And so as a summary, those are the 3 different methods that we can use to graph our line. So finding intercepts, completing a table of values, or determining the slope and the y-intercept. None of them are too difficult. Whichever one you prefer, you should go ahead and use for the most part, unless you're asked specifically to use one over the other.